Alright, today I'm going to be showing you an in-depth glitching tutorial. So I'm going to be showing you 3 different ways to glitch images, one of which is notepad glitching, BMP, and TIFF file. BMP and TIFF file are both just image files. BMP and notepad glitching do not require Photoshop. So all 3 of these images and the artists of each image will be shown in the description. The background music will also be in the description. So first let's go over notepad glitching. So it's really simple. All you have to do is you take an image and you copy it. So you can do that by, you can either click on it and you can ctrl+c or command+c if you're on Mac, or you can right click, you click copy, and then you can right click and click paste. Just like that, and that's how you make a copy of an image. You can also do the shortcut, which is ctrl+c to copy it. So now that you've made a copy of an image, the reason you want to do that is because when you're notepad glitching, you can completely render the file useless and corrupt. So what you want to do is you right click on it, and usually I would open it with Notepad, but for some reason I was doing some trials and Notepad wasn't working. It usually does work, but I also have Notepad++, which is basically just a better Notepad. So you open it with Notepad. I opened it with Notepad++. I have used just regular Notepad in the past, but for some reason it isn't working. Also, you usually want to use a JPG file. I have had PNG files work before, but it usually works better with JPG. You usually have less corrupt files. So what you want to do is you open it in Notepad. You open it in Notepad++, because it usually does work in Notepad. It wasn't working for some reason, because it just does that. You know, it's finicky. But anyways, you scroll down and you find a random line of text and you delete it, and then you save it. So you can either hit Ctrl+S or you can go up here to File and click Save. But I just saved it. So now you can open up your image file and you'll see it's a little bit distorted, which that's exactly what we just did because you deleted a bunch of text. You can delete more text and keep saving it and just see what you come up with. Usually there's a whole bunch of different things that can happen. You can have lines across the picture, like different colored ones. You can have parts of the file missing. There's all sorts of different stuff that can happen with notepad glitching. Anyways, that was notepad glitching. It's really simple. Usually you can do it with Notepad, but my computer, it's really finicky. Maybe it's because I have Notepad++ installed. Anyways, let's move on to the next form of glitching. So let's just scroll these over here. So now we're going to be talking about BMP glitching. Now this is a lot more. So all you need for this type of glitching is you need Microsoft Paint, which is really easy, really simple to get, usually comes with most computers. And you need Audacity, which is free. So the first thing you want to do is you take your image. It can be JPG, it can be PNG, it can be whatever. You open up Microsoft Paint, and all you have to do is you put your image on here, and you'll click File, Save As, and you'll click BMP. And this is why it's called BMP glitching, because you're glitching a BMP picture. So there's different options, and now this is what's interesting, because I'm going a little bit more in depth than I've seen online, because you can do 24-bit, you can do 256, you can do 16, you can do monochrome. Usually the standard, the one that I was working with for the longest time, was just 24-bit. So we're going to start off with something like that. So you save as 24-bit bitmap, click Save. So now you have a BMP file. So now what you want to do is you want to open up Audacity. So now you've opened Audacity. Now there's certain settings that you want to use whenever you're glitching images. And this is my default settings. There's trial, like the main thing I want to emphasize here is trial and error, because that's how I've learned everything that I know from trial and error. But anyway, so you got your image file, change it to BMP with Microsoft Paint, and then you open Audacity. So now what you want to do is you're going to go to File, you're going to go to Import, Raw Data, and then you want to find your file. You want to make sure it's the BMP file, not any other ones. And now these settings are really important. So you go up to encoding, you use ULAW, you can use ALAW as well. I might do a separate video talking about like video or video corruption or GIF. Like A-law is mainly for kind of stuff like that, but for images I think U-law works the best. But like I said, trial and error. Anyways, I usually select U-law as far as byte order. I always go for Little Endian. I don't think it actually matters because I'm pretty sure I've done all of them before. I don't even know. And I always go one channel. I have done 2 channels before, but one channel is the easiest way to start out. So you click import. And now this is the main thing that I want to talk about as far as glitching, as far as all that stuff. You select all of the image, which you can do that by double clicking, or you can also hit ctrl+a. You select all the image. You don't start doing anything yet. You want to zoom in really close, and you want to scroll to the front of the image. You see all of this right here? This is the data within the file that's telling it this is a BMP file, and so you don't want to mess with any of this information right here. So you want to take your cursor and you want to unselect that to like here. Maybe even a little bit further because it can still mess with it. So now you're completely ready to go. You've opened up your image file in Audacity and you're ready to go. You can also glitch like JPG and PNG files in Audacity, but it doesn't work as well, and all the it just doesn't work as well. So that's why you want to convert to a BMP or a TIFF file. But anyways, so now we've got our image open, and now pretty much the main thing you want to do is just experiment, really. So you go up here to effects, and you pretty much can just do whatever you want. I'd say the really easiest thing to do is just to invert it. And oh yeah, let's go over this first. So you go over to effects, you do whatever you want over here, because there's a whole bunch of trial and error, a whole bunch of different options and things you can do to the image. I've tried almost all of these. It all just comes with trial and error, you know? So you pick your thing. It's the easiest thing you can probably do, the easiest kind of simplest thing you can do. So now what you want to do, after you've done whatever changes you want to make to the file, you go to File, you go to Export Audio, and what I always do is, see, this is the name of the file, and so what I always do is because this is the simplest way, the simplest organizational way to do it, is I'll click like an A, because this is the first instance of the image I'm making. And I always go to Save As Type, and I always go to Other Uncompressed Files. You want to go Header is raw headerless. And encoding is the same thing that you imported as. So since I imported it as ULAW, I'll use ULAW. If I was doing some other things, like if I imported it as ALAW, I could use that. Because you can use ALAW as well, you know, like I'm saying. I'm wanting to definitely emphasize trial and error here. So you named it Brutalism A, and you want to note that this is a BMP file. And so you're going to put .bmp, hit spacebar. So you're going to hit .bmp, and now it's completely ready. So now you click Save. Click yes, okay. And what I usually do for those 3 screens is I actually just spam the enter button because it just, goes through all of them faster. Anyways, this is your new file. This is what you did. You glitched this, you know what I mean? This is, because like I'm saying, invert can be really simple and really effective. Because see how beautiful that is? See, this is the original file. And then this is what you did to it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. So, that's mainly that's the gist of the whole BMP thing. Let's go over some different effects just so I can show you what they do. You can also stack effects, you know what I mean? We're gonna undo the invert, but you can stack effects. So if you wanna invert it and then do a whole bunch of other stuff, it's, like I said, it's up to you, you know what I mean? It's trial and error. So anyways, let's do the next thing, which this is pretty simple, change speed. And this is really, really sensitive. So every time I do change speed, I always do 0.999. That's the easiest. So we change the speed, and so now let's do the same thing again. We're going to export it, and this time we're going to do brutalism beat.bmp, and we have all of our settings correct. You always, if you ever get a we're gonna show you what happens if you don't. Say you accidentally clicked ULAW down here, what happens? So now you click Save, you clicked yes, you clicked all that stuff. What happens is you can't open the file. See, it's a corrupt file if you put the wrong settings on it. And so that's why you always want to use the right settings. So, let's try this again, but with the right settings. but I was just trying to show you. Another thing is this .aff, you always want to delete that, and you always want to click, like, and the reason I add a letter is because you don't want it to be the same file. Because you would be overwriting the file that was there. So the easiest way to counteract that is just to add a letter alphabetically each time you do a glitch. Like if you're really wanting to experiment and try a whole bunch of different things. So you've got brutalismb.bmp, and now we're going to export this. And so I usually just spam the enter button, but because this is a tutorial and stuff, I'll show you click save, click yes, click OK. But you can just spam the enter button as well. Now this one was corrupt as well, and probably the reason for that is because sometimes your cursor is too close to the beginning, and so it can still pick up on some of that. And so what you can do is you can maybe like bring it even closer over here, and we undid the effect. So now we're going to retry it again. So we're going to redo the speed effect, and we're going to try this again. But this happens a lot, this corrupt image. Whenever it can't open like this, it's a corrupt image, and it means that you mess with kind of the beginning of the file. So anyways, so brutalismb.bmp. I'm going to do it spamming the enter key this time, to see how quick that is. So now we do have an image. It's not a corrupt file, and this is what it looks like. So this is basically the gist of BMP glitching. You use Microsoft Paint. You open up your image. It's really simple. You go File, Save As, BMP Picture. Let's show off a different BMP style. So by that I mean, let's open up the same image here, this one. Go to File, Save As, BMP, and let's go to 16 color. And so what I usually do is I'll type in brutalism 16.bmp because it's a 16 color bitmap. And these different settings for bitmap, that's the BMP stands for bitmap. These different settings all do all sorts of different things. So let's go with brutalism 16. Let's click save, click OK, and see it reduce the quality of the image. You see how it, because this is a bitmap file that only has 16 colors. But whenever you're glitching, this can do all sorts of different things. So now it's X out of Audacity. We open the image, we click File, we click Save As, we draw that. So now let's glitch one of these files. So you can open up your Audacity, you can click X, you can even close out of Audacity and reopen it if you want. But probably the easiest is just to click X on that. So you click Import Raw Data, just like last time. You scroll down and you find your BMP, your BMP file, and it's brutalism 16. So you open that one, and you do the same settings as last time. See, I always go with these same settings, but like I said, trial and error. If you want to try no Indianness, big Indian, I've tried it before, and it doesn't seem to results all that much. I just default to go into little Indian. So like I'm trying to say, I'm emphasizing trial and error, definitely with a lot of this stuff. Like I have glitched with 2 channels before, 2 different images. There's all sorts of different, stuff you can do. Anyways, let's go with the basic. ULaw, Little Indian, 1 channel. That's basically, that's the easiest, simplest kind of way to go about it. So remember, you open your image and you double click and it selects the entire image, or you can Control A, or you just select the image and you zoom in all the way. And also, if you're really lazy, because I used to do this, like let's just say you got your image right here. I used to just go like this. Like I used to be really lazy until I learned, because it'll leave like a scan line at the bottom of your image. That's the original file. So that's why I always go in and kind of select the entire thing. So you select the entire image except for this first bit right here, because this bit that says this image is a BMP file. And so now that you've selected the part of the image you want, now BMP files .16, there's a whole, it's almost completely different than glitching these files. So we're going to go to Effect, and these, we're going to do a fade in, just to show you, how cool this is. So we did a simple fade in, and we're going to export audio. You never want to click selected audio, because you don't have the first bit of the image selected. So we're going to export audio. And this time we're going to do brutalism16a.bmp. And the reason we name it 16 is, of course, so it doesn't get confused with the other file that we're working with. Anyways, so we have brutalism16a, uncompressed, raw, ULAW, so we're going to click save, yes. I usually just spam enter through that. Anyways, look at this. It's completely different than the first image, because we had it in a different format. It was a BMP file, but it was a 16 color BMP, because Paint allows us to do that. So, let's see, let's undo the fade in. Let's go over some of the different effects, because there's a whole lot. There's amplify. I'm going to skip over the ones I don't usually use. I don't use auto duck. I usually change pitch is really finicky. It usually ends up in a corrupt file. Yeah, a lot of these, there's just so many, like I'm saying, you know, definitely a trial and error with all of this stuff. There's so many different options. There's wah-wah. A wah-wah, I use this setting a lot. Just messing with these settings. I haven't, okay, so as far as what these settings do, like wah-wah and some other ones, I have no idea what they do myself. So, I mean, if there's an expert in the audience, well, I have no idea what a lot of these audio settings do. I use them, I experiment, I trial and error until I find something that's really cool, you know? But wah-wah, you just mess with the settings, and, you know, like I'm saying with all this stuff, it's messing with all the settings, really. You click apply, and then you click file, export audio, and then you go 16B. Another thing you can do is, let's say you made a glitch file and you actually dislike how it turned out. You can just overwrite it. So you can do brutalism16a.bmp. You just name it the same file. And let's say I didn't really like this file. I don't want it taking up space on my computer, right? So click brutalism16a.bmp. Make sure all your settings are right. Click save, and you can spam enter, like I said, because that's what I usually do. And it overwrites this file. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, like I said, there's so much different stuff you can do with Audacity and with this whole, you know, there's different names for it: data binning, data moshing, glitching. I like to just call it glitching, because that just simplifies it. But wow, this is really cool. Like I'm saying, there's so much stuff you can do with all these different effects. Probably the effects that I use the most are wah-wah, equalization. Echo can be really cool. I haven't messed with that in a long time, but echo can be really cool. But equalization's really cool. You go here to select curve, you can just mess with just so much, you know, and then you can click OK, and you know, there's so many different things, like, and options, and just different things you can do with this. Like, it's amazing. So we just messed with some equalization, and it did create a corrupt file, which that does happen sometimes, you know. Even I still run into it. I mean, it still can definitely happen. But anyways, that is pretty much the end of BMP glitching. I don't think I'm going to go through every single effect, just because there's so many different options. There's so many, like, different things you can do that are just, you know, it's amazing. Let's get the music going again. Yes, this is linked in the description, by the way, Stevia Sphere. Anyways, so BMP glitching. That's basically all I'm going to go over. Main things I used: wah-wah, equalization. You're wanting quick changes to the picture. Those are probably easy. Invert's really simple to use. Yeah, so that basically concludes everything you can do without Photoshop. There's a whole bunch of different options and different stuff I didn't show off, but like I'm saying, I'm trying to emphasize trial, error, you going out yourself and, you know, doing this cool stuff. So anyways, let's move on to Photoshop. So how do you TIFF glitch? We're going to close out of Audacity. How do you TIFF glitch? First off, let's get all of this over here. So this is our TIFF, well, it's actually not a TIFF file yet. So how do you TIFF glitch? Let's close out of that. So the first thing to do is to open Photoshop, which might take a minute because of my computer. Now this is glitching with Photoshop. The first, you can do everything I said. I did it the first part of this video without Photoshop. So the first thing you want to do is you open up Photoshop, and you want to get your image probably over here, where you can easily drag it and drop it onto Photoshop, just so you can open it. I mean, if not, you can just go to File, Open, open the file. But anyways, here's your image on Photoshop. And so now what you want to do is you want to go to File, Save As, and you want to go to TIFF file. And I have no idea what this ICC profile does. I have no idea. I usually, I don't think it even matters if you have it checked or unchecked. But anyway, so now you have the name of the file, .tiff, click Save, and by default, this will be selected, but I always select this. I always have none up here. I'm trying to emphasize trial and error, so you can mess with these. I think I've messed with LZW before, but I always usually keep these settings the same except for this one. So you click OK, and now you have a TIFF file. So now you reopen Audacity, and you go to File, and you do pretty much the same thing you did with BMP file. You go to File, Import, Raw Data, you select your image, and you wait for it to load, and then you go to Encoding, ULAW, Little Indian, and one channel. You click Import, and you select all of it. And the interesting thing, the really, really cool thing about TIFF files is that you're going to get a lot more color pop from TIFF files. You're going to get a whole bunch more from. That's why I use kind of a bland image. I use a bland image is because it's going to make the colors pop on this image. Anyway, so another thing about TIFF files is this is the red of the image. This is RGB. Yeah, this is the green, and this is the B. So this is the blue. And that's the really cool thing. And that's why you did those settings in Photoshop when you saved it, is because it organizes the pixels as these 3 different colors: red, green, blue. So, just like with last time, you select the image by either double clicking or, Control A, however you want to do it. There's probably even an option up here, select all or something. I'm sure there is somewhere. Anyways, so you select the image, you go to the front, and this time you have a lot more to scroll through. So all of this at the front, this is the header of the file. This is what's saying this is a TIFF file. So you select your cursor, and I'll zoom in twice and scroll this way, and then I'll do it to where, there's a little bit, there's a little bit of that showing over there, and then I'll zoom in twice, and then I'll do the same thing to where there's a little bit showing on the right side of the screen, zoom in twice. See what I'm getting at here? This is a lot easier than doing it another way. So you select up to here this time. And so now it's exactly as last time. You go to Effect, you mess with the effects. You can do an invert, which is a quick and easy thing to do, like I said with last time. And I always go and the name of the file and then the letter A, and then because see what I usually do is I cycle through the alphabet, so I'll go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because it's the easiest way, easiest organization to A.TIF, and you always want to make sure you type .BMP, whatever the type of file it is. If not, you can, I guess, run into issues. I think I've done it before where I haven't done that, and it was just fine, but still, I always try to do that just because. You make sure your settings are the exact same: uncompressed, raw, headerless, and ULAW, and you click Save. And I usually spam enter through that part because it makes it really quick. But anyways, this is your output image right here. It looks really cool. That looks really cool. But anyways, let's do some more experimenting. So I've showed you some wah-wah settings. I haven't showed you successful equalization yet. So easy with equalization, you can flatten it. You can use one of these ones. Something I do is I'll use, let's say, one of these default ones, like, let's say AM radio. Well, let's say walkie-talkie, and I'll invert it. Okay. And then we'll click File, Export Audio, go through our regular steps, you know, B dot, and then whoops, .tif. You want to make sure you type in the right thing. Then you spam enter, because it's the easiest, quickest way to do it. And bam! That's cool looking. Let's go in how to make the colors pop for TIFF images. Let's see here, how to make the colors pop. It usually just kind of happens. Like, let's try some base. Maybe that'll make the colors kind of pop. I'm also going to overwrite the one I just made, since it wasn't, you know, it wasn't that good, I don't think. Yeah, I think that, yeah, that did a good job of making the colors pop when we did that. Yep. But, yeah, this has been an in-depth glitching tutorial. I went over notepad glitching, went over BMP glitching, and I went over Photoshop glitch, or TIFF glitching. I always name it as the file name, because it's the easiest way to kind of remember it. I didn't even go over 256 BMP files, because you go in here, you go File, Save As, BMP, and you can even do monochrome. There's so much different options in here. The main thing is you open the image in Audacity with the settings I said, and then you deselect the first bit of the image, and if you're having a corrupted image, you kind of deselect more of it. But there's so much cool different things, like there's 24, 256, 16. Usually with TIFF files, which requires Photoshop, you get a lot more color pop on the image, like it shows here. We're also going to go over combining images in Photoshop, and this is going to be really cool. This is going to be the last thing I talk about here. So what you want to do is you want to open Photoshop. Luckily I already have it open, so we don't have to wait for it. And you take the images you made, and you put them on this side of the screen, just so you can open them easier. You take this, and you open it, it'll say this, and you click OK. And then you want to double click this, and you click Enter. And now the thing is, sometimes if you double click it, it'll be locked or something, and so you want to select the entire image, which will be Ctrl+A. You want to copy it, so you can hit Ctrl+C, or you can, you know, copy, File, copy, or Edit, Copy, and then you can click File, New, and click OK, and you hit Ctrl+V. Oh, whoops. You Ctrl+V. There you go. So that's, sometimes you have to do that. But anyways, besides that, so up the other image, and I'm going to show you how to like really take it to the next level. So you have two images open in Photoshop. You have one over the other. You go to your layers, and you can select different layers. You can really mess with the different color settings, and there's so many different options. Now this is all just Photoshop only stuff. Like I said, there's so much you can do without Photoshop if you don't have it. You know, you can do making all of this stuff. But anyways, I think I'm going to leave the video off here. I really wanted to make this because I didn't think there was a lot of good resources. You know, I did try to find really good resources out there. I couldn't really find any. So I wanted to kind of make my own video going over how I use Audacity to glitch image files and how I go about making glitch art and stuff. So if you found this helpful, support me in ways that other YouTubers have told you. I'm not going to explicitly say any of them. But anyways, this has been my glitching tutorial. Mainly the last thing I want to emphasize is definitely trial and error, experimenting. This is how I do things. This is how, you know, just how I go about things, but there's so many different options. There's so many different, I'm still learning things, and I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years. But anyways, that's been my in-depth glitching tutorial. Thanks for watching, and have an awesome day.